All right, folks, you've heard me say on several videos that I have a quarterly cadence where I go through a process to have confidence to spend, make sure I've got enough money, don't run out of money. Ooh, don't want to be scared there. And, I look at expenses. I go into an Excel spreadsheet and look at my buckets. And then I go into Boldin, enter all my new information, and then I stress test things in Boldin. So today's video is stress testing in Boldin. I've got a dummy account that they gave me. I filled it up with information, and I'm going to go through a stress testing process with you. So I'm going to talk about altering 5 things: savings rate, expenses, Social Security timing, inflation, and possibly retiring earlier and seeing how that works out. So I am going to share my screen here. There you go. I think we're going live. Okay, so you can see that this person on the overview screen has a 97% probability of success. I say this person, this is a couple. Let's kind of get a background of what these people look like. They have 1 million in an IRA. They're getting under average settings. And if you're not familiar with Boldin, I'll show you this right now. I have an optimistic rate of return for their IRA of 10%. Optimistic. That's kind of historic before inflation, right? But optimistic. And then I put in a pessimistic return of 5%. That's just what I chose to put in. You can put in whatever you want. Now, Boldin allows you to toggle between optimistic, average, and pessimistic. Average is just the average of these two numbers, okay? Not too complicated. So it allows you to bounce around. So if you want to say, how bad can things get? I'll put it on pessimistic. What do I think is realistic? Really, at least average, maybe even optimistic. You can put whatever numbers you want in there. So you do that for each account, okay? So you do that for this IRA. Here's a brokerage account, and here is a high risk, high interest savings account. So I got 100,000 here, 250 in a brokerage, a million here, giving them a total $1.35 million. Okay. It's not important what that is. Follow the process. Okay. They own a $600,000 home in Indiana, no debt. Income. One person is working as an office manager. You could, hover over any date and it'll show you the age of the two people. Like this one's currently 61, both the spouse and you and the spouse are both 61 is what that says. Plans are to work one more year, making $8,000 a year, 2.5% increase. Here's Social Security. They're currently planning on taking it 70. You and your spouse taking it 70. Here's the amount. Okay, we can change that. You go in to change Social Security. This full benefit age is fixed, but your claiming age is changed. Okay. So that's where Social Security is. Then you can actually put in a cost of living adjustment. Okay, this is for Social Security. Optimistic is 2, pessimistic is 4. A lot of people get this wrong, okay? Optimistic, you'd say, hey, optimistic is getting the higher number. Well, you really want low inflation to affect your goods that you're purchasing. And when you have low inflation, you're going to have low, which is optimistic, low inflation. You're going to have low cost of living adjustment for your Social Security. It's not reasonable to say, hey, I'm going to have very low general inflation and very high Social Security COLA. That it just doesn't work that way. So make sure you get that straight. Down here in expenses, reoccurring expenses, unplanned expenses are $200 a month. Go spending $1,500 a month. That's to travel, whatever they're going to do in retirement through age 75. Baseline spending, this is just living every day, $4,500 a month. And then slow go spending, 750 a month. So 750 a month starts from 75 and goes to 80. Go-go spending goes from 61 to 75. Unplanned expenses go for the lifetime. You never know when your car's going to need to go in the shop or you need to do something special in your house. I also got one-time expenses in here, a trip to Alaska, a new roof, kitchen remodel, new home, new car, replace the HVAC, just to throw out a few things. And then let's see, this couple actually has some Roth conversions. So they're doing, Roth conversions, looks like every year looks like 6,000, 43,000, 46,000. And we're going to, yeah, I'll mention that a little bit. That came from the Roth Explorer feature here in Boldin, where you can say, hey, minimize my taxes, and it populates those numbers for you. Really gives me a lot of confidence to spend. So I think you got a feel for this group, or this couple. Let's just call them a couple, so don't forget their names. So it's showing 97%. I just act like I just ended the quarter. I entered all this information. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to say, man, savings rates, I'm not very optimistic on my savings rates. I'm currently, well, first thing I want to do, let's back up. Let's overview. I want to show one of the big highlights here. I'm showing average right now. I tried to put in optimistic numbers. My optimistic numbers really reflect what history has been for the stock market. So average numbers, like if you remember on the IRA, I said 10% optimistic and average was 7.5%. Let's just lower that a little bit. Okay, so let's come back to average. And I'm saying I'm just not feeling as good with my my IRA earning even 7.5. So I'm going to come in here to my IRA and I'm going to move my optimistic rate of return down to 8.5. And I'm going to actually lower my pessimistic down to 4. Okay, and I'm still on average settings. I can go up to my Monte Carlo and I'm still on average. Yeah, I think I'm still on average. Let's just double check here. Yeah, I'm still on average. So it still has got me at 99%. So it didn't change by much. Actually, I'll tell you what did change inside of this. This is a little of advanced discussion here, but if you go into your IRA, any IRA, and it assumes, since I lowered this optimistic rate of return and a pessimistic rate of return, it's assuming I'm not in 100% stocks now because the returns are down a little bit. Okay, the returns here are going to be around 6.25, 6 or so. So that's saying, hey, this person's probably 60-40, 70-30. So it reduced the standard deviation, okay, of those returns. And that standard deviation is an input into the Monte Carlo score. So by lowering your rate of return, you can lower the standard deviation, which gives you more predictable returns, and which was reflected in the 99%. Okay, so actually rates of return didn't really hurt me that much. Let's put those back to where they were. And there's no right answers here. What I'm trying to demonstrate is how you can understand your plan better by understanding these numbers and making them high, making them low, making them average, and seeing how confident you are in your plan to allow you to have confidence to spend. That's what I get from this program. So I'm going to go back to optimistic rate of return. I'm going to put that back in at 10. I'm going to put this pessimistic back in at 5 and just go back to where I was. So savings rate, you can do whatever you want with that. So I demonstrated that. Let's go to expenses. Now remember, we're currently at 97% rate Monte Carlo. And like you've just seen, 97 or 99, there's some small probability changes in there. Don't get worked up about that. Look for changes of at least somewhere around 10 is what I look for. That's just a personal number. So expenses, let's go into expenses. Let's say my unplanned expenses, let's say instead of $200 a month, let's put in 400. So that's $200 more a month for the rest of my life. Let's see what that does. That dropped it from 97 to 93. Pretty insignificant. So that says, hey, you know, that's not a bad deal. Let's make that, let's go up a little bit more. Unplanned expenses, let's make that 500. Let's go to 600. 600. So 600, that's a lot of unplanned expenses, which says, you know, hey, I got some wiggle room here in my plan. 85. 85 is not a bad number. Yes, it's different from the 97, but this is highly executable. Highly executable. I'd still retire on this number. So, hey, where I'm at, what I'm expending right now, what my budget is, even if it went up by $400 a month for the rest of my life, I still got an 85% probability of success. So that really makes me feel good. So I'm going to go back to 200. So I'm feeling good here about my expenses. Make sure I'm back at 97. Okay, now we're going to get into Social Security timing. So keep an eye on this 97 here. I'm going to go into income, and I'm going to say, you know, gosh, 70 sounds kind of late. I'm going to put in full retirement age. So this is currently at 70. I'm going to put, for my spouse and I, we're going to just put in 67. Give me a second to do this. 67 for me, save. 67 for my spouse. Home along with me, 67. Sorry, I passed it up. So put in 67 for both of them. The overview, look at that, drops it from 97 to 87%. Still doable if you want to go that direction, but Social Security is a very reliable, don't panic when I say this, don't fill up the comments. It's a very reliable, steady, inflation adjusted asset coming at you. Okay. So the programs for probability of success using Monte Carlo love Social Security, especially when you delay it. So 87% probability of success. We're going to leave that alone. So we're going to just say we're going to keep it at 67. So this new number that we're benchmarking here is 87. And then we're going to go into rate assumptions. Let's, rate assumptions, specifically inflation, general inflation. This is what's scaring everybody right now. So Boldin allows you to put in general inflation, medical inflation, Social Security inflation, and your housing inflation. You know, you can put in whatever numbers you want here. So under general inflation, I've got optimistic, I hope it's low, 2%, and pessimistic, I 5%. But let's just put in 6% here and let it float around with that. So I got 6% in. Make sure it took that. Took us from 87 down to 674. That is 13 percentage points different just for a tweak on inflation. Inflation is a big deal. And so what I'm taking from this is I really got to watch inflation. And I may have to substitute. I may have to change my spending, change some of my go-go spending if inflation goes up. If inflation goes just from 5 to 6, man, it really smacked me upside the head, knocking me down into the 70s, which I didn't like that at all. I don't like that at all. So we're back to 87%. I've changed inflation back. And let's look at, hey, let's retire earlier, okay? So let's say we're still going to take Social Security at 67, but work, instead of working till January of 26, we're going to stop working now. So we're going to stop working. I know I got January in here. I'm just going to start work. I'm going to say right now. Right now, we're retired. Probability of success went from 87 to 82 by retiring now. All other things being equal. Does that make you want to retire now? Okay, now let's make one more twist here. Let's bring Social Security back to where it was. Okay, so remember this is at 82. Social Security, for me, I'm going to bring that back up to 70. And my spouse, I'm going to bring back up to 70. I know you can't follow how fast I'm going here, but trust me. So I'm going back up to 70. And my probability of success retiring a year earlier, 94. If you remember, working one more year was 97. So I only lost 3 percentage points, which is in the rounding error of the assumptions, by retiring earlier. So I would say, man, why not retire now? The difference is very minimal. I can even spend a little bit more since I showed that in my expenses. So this is what I do. This is what I call stress testing my plan. Last two things I want to show you here, which are just so powerful inside of um, Boldin. Number one is Roth Conversion Explorer. Okay, so you can go in here and say, okay, you want it the highest estate value. Do you want to maximize on tax bracket? Do you want to maximize on paying the minimum IRMA? You can do that. So if we go in here on tax bracket and say we want to pay into the 12% tax bracket, I just want to get the taxes behind me. No, I got to select that one. It comes out and says, okay, here's the Roth conversions you need to do to maximize the 12% tax bracket every single year. And what your IRMA is going, here's your tax liability. Look at that. It goes down to zero here when they're 72, near zero. Not paying, look at the required minimum distributions are zero. I mean, just, it's a thing of beauty here. Let's look at, I'm going to apply that. I'm going to apply that to my scenario. And I want to go and show you taxes by tax bracket. I like looking at that under Explorer. Let's see, taxes. And you could get very good at this too. So here's net taxable income by federal tax bracket. So here's what we just entered. We're we're filling up the 10% bracket, the 12% bracket, and then look at this. I mean, it's just no taxes. Now, some of you may look at this and say that's not a good thing. This person wanted to get their tax liability out of the way because they just don't trust the government. It's probably best to at least take the, to maybe spread out the 10% here and pay, pocket the difference between 10 and 12% bracket. So you're probably better off paying the 10% bracket all the way through here. But this person chose, I want to get the taxes behind me. That's okay. You got all kinds of options to look forward at your tax liability by using Boldin. And a lot of people have no tax plan. This can give you a great tax plan. The other Explorer it's got is Social Security. So I'm going to go through a couple screens here. It tells you to look up your full retirement age on SSS.gov, SSA.gov, sorry. And it'll compare your current plan to your desired, ages, what's the benefit of each, lifetime benefit amount, just to help you select what the right age is for you. Now, these all say 70, so I didn't set this up very well for you to look at, but it does have an Explorer to help you compare and contrast different ages for your Social Security. So There you go. That's what I do once a quarter. I go in and play around with the numbers. I may have a new thought around changing housing, appreciation, but I can look at retiring a little earlier, working part-time in retirement, change your inflation rates, change your rates of return. All these things make me learn the levers inside my plan. And that's what's key, knowing the levers in your plan and having a plan that can adapt to reality. Your plan's going to be wrong. Life is going to be different than you have it planned out. Knowing the levers allows you to have confidence in your plan and knowing that you can adjust it and be successful. That's what I do inside of Boldin. Got any comments? Let me know. Show out.